Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is episode 52 of Indecisive Cinema. I'm Jeremy Knight,
52. Yeah.
and
I'm
you are.
Carlos Hernandez.
Happy to be here. We missed last
Did you
week
get it?
because of an injury, unfortunately, but we're
Yeah, yeah.
as healthy as we possibly can be today. Not the healthiest
Amen.
ever, but
Yes.
we're here to talk about a couple of movies. The Oscars happened, which we were going to talk about
Yes.
last week, and then that got pushed to this week. So we're going to talk about the Oscars. I
This
saw
one.
Undertone and Project Hail Mary. I also read the book leading up to that, so we'll talk about
Yeah.
those two. And then you went on a Spielberg kick and watched Jaws and Close
Yeah,
Encounters.
yeah, because of
You'd never seen
Jaws,
them.
Close Encounters, No, no, no. No, I have. I was some of my favorite films. And 1941, my favorite Spielberg film, so I saw that. And
Your
you've seen
favorite?
1941, right?
I haven't, but I'm still
Yeah.
surprised that it's your favorite.
Favorite. I just say best. I said my favorite. Remember, we all
That's
have
fair.
favorites, and then we have the
Yeah, that's
best. So
allowed.
I love 1941. It's fun. It's fun.
So yeah, we'll touch on all those and then get into all the controversy about the Oscars, and then do picks of the week. And so that's kind of the breakdown.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did want to briefly touch on a stand-up special that I think is fantastic. Robbie
Mm,
Hoffman's special on Netflix called "Wake Up." It's uh,
yeah,
she's a big old lesbian and definitely
yeah.
like role plays as like the antagonist in this, and for
Mhm.
just for great satire. I mean, it feels like she like turns the thing into a town hall halfway through it, like just the way she like is poking at the crowd the whole time, and just I mean, it's really brilliant and just undeniably
Yeah,
fresh
yeah.
and playfully controversial and provocative and just hilarious. It's directed by John Mulaney, which you can
Oh,
see his influence
okay.
on the special, but still feels original. Just a
Yeah.
hilarious. It's got it just from the opening line. I think it's funny. And definitely controversial. I'm surprised that Netflix put this on there, and not in the way that like Dave Chappelle would be like, you can't say anything anymore.
No, yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
controversial, but in a
yeah.
really clever way. And I mean, there's like a great pedophilia joke and some abortion jokes, and she touches on all the things, and I'm but in ways that I'm just still surprised that this is like a headlining Netflix special in this day and age.
Our audience is saying a great pedophilia joke.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and she and the perspective is from somebody who's saying, they get a really bad rap. That's the angle, but she's like committing to this bit the whole time. It's so funny, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I feel like she's just like it feels kind of loose, but also intentionally like it's intentionally kind of loose, but she's very much in control the whole time. I mean, it's I've seen it a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
times now. I've like showed a few people. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
not a movie, obviously. I know this is a movie podcast, but it is a fantastic piece of creative work and yeah, just a really funny stand-up special. So Robbie
Oh, cool. I'm
Hoffman,
definitely gonna check it out now. Yeah,
yeah,
Robbie
it's
Hoffman,
pretty
Netflix.
solid. So anyway, I guess I can do Undertone first. I don't have a lot to say about this,
Okay.
but I did really like it. You haven't seen this though, right? So I'll avoid spoilers.
No, no, it's a movie that I do want to see very badly. Yeah, I love the trailer. The trailer is really well done. So yeah.
Directed by Ian Twasson. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's
Mm,
a debut feature. I forgot to look up if it was his first film. But it stars Nina Kiri, who I am not familiar with, and Adam DeMarco, who was in season 2 of White Lotus.
okay. Yeah.
He's just like she's the only one. The Evie character is the only character you really see on screen the whole time. Adam DeMarco just comes in as her
I was going to ask you
podcasting
that.
partner.
Yeah.
Justin. So it's all
Yeah.
kind of set in this one house. So I
Hmm.
don't think we ever leave the house. So very like low budget indie horror. I think this A24. I forgot to look that up too. I think it is. Um, but anyway,
Yeah.
premises.
It is.
Um,
Yeah.
Evie and Justin run a horror podcast where they like analyze paranormal incidents
Mhm.
or just things of that nature, murder mysteries. You've heard
Yeah.
of there's a million of these types of podcasts,
Yeah.
and The film it tells its narrative and builds its atmosphere using entirely like very much audio driven. It
Yeah,
reminds me a lot of a Barbarian Sound Studio, which was from
yeah,
2012.
yeah.
Very
Hmm.
solid that as well. I think that's another movie that like uses sound as a
So
character in the film. Um, I swear though, the theater must have had like the volume turned up like 12 decibels at Cinemark. I mean, there's an early scare in it that like physically hurt my ears, and I had to put
ooh,
earplugs in. I've never had I put
holy
earplugs in for the remainder of the film. It was so loud. Um,
interesting.
my earplugs don't silence it; they just dampen the volume. I use
Dampen
them
it.
for
Yeah, yeah,
concerts and
yeah,
stuff, but or
yeah,
events and whatnot. But yeah, anyway, it does a really good job of just building an atmosphere and just an overwhelming sense of dread. Reminds me a lot of like Long Legs in the sense that it always feels like
mm,
somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder. It's like that kind of atmosphere. And
yeah,
um, she's create producing this podcast while also taking care of her mother, who is on her deathbed. It seems
mm,
like at least, and she's definitely kind of waiting around for her to die. And the film explores
mm,
that in an interesting way. I think that also really contributes to this feeling of dread, like this impending doom of sorts.
yeah,
And I think it also avoids. This is a movie that like, could very easily rely on jump scares, and especially just the way that like this premise, you could totally fall into the trap of, falling on, back to just the traditional tropes of like,
yeah,
terrible horror films from, past decades. But I do think it avoids. I think it really, if anything, it utilizes those traditional tropes against the audience in a way that I found really, really fresh. There's like a few jump scares, but they're not like the obvious annoying ones that you would see in a movie like this.
yeah,
So I really like
yeah,
that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a very creepy and atmospheric and maybe a little bit of a slow burn for some people, but I thought it worked the whole time. I thought it was a very creepy, unsettling experience. And again, kind of a
mm,
low budget movie. It's not something it's not a bringer back. It's not like a, $15 million.
yeah, 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 yeah,
This is like maybe a five. I don't know. I didn't look at the budget, but it's probably a $5 million, all one location, no big stars.
yeah,
But it does a lot with its
yeah,
budget, and I think it was really effective. So, highly recommended.
yeah.
It's in theaters.
Good.
I would suggest seeing it in the theater as well. If you
In
like horror
theater,
films,
yeah,
it might not work for everybody, but as a debut feature, low budget horror, I think it's pretty strong. So. Also,
okay, good. Yeah,
Marissa
definitely. I
makes
want to see
weird
that. Yeah.
fucking noises in her sleep sometimes. And like, I think the literal night we saw this film, I woke up at like 4 in the morning or something. She was just going, and it kind of creeped me out. Uh, the other night, she like was
She,
laughing in her sleep, and I had to wake her up, and she was like, "Oh, it was just a funny dream."
what?
I'm like, that's creepy as hell, man.
That's
Um,
creepy as hell. That's right. She
anyway,
saw it with you then?
yeah, she did, and she liked it a lot. So I think we both
She
enjoyed
liked it
it.
too, right? Yeah.
I do like when it comes to, I'm a sucker for like good soundscape in a horror film, and I think the
Yeah.
anticipation of the scares, which again in like a traditional kind of lowbrow horror film, like just like the jump scare, the anticipation of the jump scare, it like
Yeah.
oftentimes like the films rely on that tension. I think this
Yeah.
does that, but without the like kind of cheap payoff of a jump scare. And so I mean there's
Yeah.
definitely some sequences where you're like kind of just peeking out of the corner of your eye at the screen. um
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think review wise it's gotten some mixed reactions, but I do think for what it is, I think it's really effective. So
Good. Yeah, definitely gonna check it out. Yeah.
that's Undertone. And then you did your Spielberg marathon. I don't know, you said, did you only
Yeah.
watch those three or did you watch others?
No, yeah.
Jaws,
I only
Encounters,
watched.
and
Started off obviously with Jaws. And I mean, we don't have to talk about Jaws. It's a 50-year-old film. Amazing movie. We saw it in the summer for the 50th anniversary, but I just it was on, and I said, let me check it out. And then after that, I said, you know what I haven't seen in a while? Close Encounters, and I haven't
yeah.
seen that in like a good 15 years. So I watched that, and I love Close Encounters. As a child, I was always, obsessed with what was out there, UFOs and stuff like that. So it's just a great film, great sound too. Talk about sound.
Yeah, Marissa's
Um,
the
and,
orchestra she's playing with this week actually did a John Williams night a few years back. I forget when it was, and
oh
they
yeah,
did a bunch of the. I mean, it's all John Williams obviously, but they did a bunch of the Spielberg stuff. And Close Encounters was actually one of the highlights of that show from my
yeah,
memory. They did Jaws as well, which was really fun. But I think I like Close Encounters. I've never been like I didn't grow up
yeah,
in that decade, so like I revisited
yeah.
that, in 2005 or 10. It was well after it had
Right,
come out. So as far as like modern
yeah.
sci-fi, there had been a lot of other things that it had influenced that I
Well,
had
yeah.
seen. But the score was I just find fantastic.
Oh
That's
yeah.
definitely a great one of his.
Yeah.
Also,
And then
I was
since
watching
while we was
Joe.
doing,
Wait, go ahead.
go
Sorry.
go go. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
No, I was gonna say go into the next film, but you were watching what?
well, Joe List in the comedian Joe List in his more recent special has a line, a joke about it, where he says, "You ever watch a movie with a smart person, and at the end they go, it's actually about communism," and you're like, "Really? I thought it was about sharks." After it's about Jaws, but I think it's really funny. Unrelated though, or not unrelated, but why
I like
why
that.
is 1941 your favorite Spielberg film though? Of all the Spielberg films,
So 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 yeah, and again, I mean, I'm not saying it's the best. It's just when I was younger, just real quick, I idolized John Belushi without knowing about the drugs. And then when he died, my mother was like, "Oh, you shouldn't idolize someone like that." But I was just like, I was a big guy too, and so I would just try to emulate him, like the Blues Brothers sketch or the Samurai. Um, so when I was old enough, I think I first saw it when it aired on HBO, like in the
mm,
mid '80s, and I watched it, and I just thought it was great. It has all these cameos from all these stars, and like I said, back then, growing up with SNL, SCTV, then you got these big like Warren Oates,
sure.
Ned Beatty, so just Shira Mafune, so it's just a fun film, and it's like I caught on like in the late '80s. I was reading an article, and they said that the way he shot it, the certain sequences is like a Rube Goldbergian sequences. So
Mm.
one thing happens and nothing, and it goes like that. And the scene in the I don't know, when was the last time you saw the film?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever actually watched it all the way through. I've seen like
Oh,
clips from it, but I don't think
yeah,
I've
yeah,
ever because it was I don't know if it was even available on anything for. I mean, maybe it
yeah.
is
It's
now.
it,
Um,
it's not. I have the DVD,
gotcha. Hey,
but yeah.
physical
So
media.
I know, right? Physical media. So the sequence in the dance hall, where all the characters come together,
Hmm.
it's such an amazing scene where like like when the broom drops and it hits the guy, he drops the tray, it's a waiter, and that falls on this guy, and then he jumps up, hits it, and it's like literally like
Domino effect.
one thing reacts to the other till finally Treat Williams pops up onto the screen, which is and it's just my favorite film. It's so fun. Like you watch Jaws, it's a masterpiece. Close Encounters, it's beautiful to watch and listen to. But it's like out of all his films, it's like I think it's the most fun film he's ever done.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if
He
you
doesn't have a
know of
lot of
another
fun
Spielberg film
films.
that's
I mean,
fun
that's
film exactly.
that's an interesting point. Yeah.
And I just yeah. So it's like all his films are grandiose. Even E.T., which has that childlike wonder, and as a kid I watched it, but it's like besides the sequence of them riding their bikes, there's not
Yeah.
a lot of fun sequences.
Sure.
So I just think that
Still more of a
1941 is
thriller, like just
yeah,
like a
yeah,
sci-fi adventure film than it is,
correct, yes,
anything
yeah.
else. So yeah, it's a good point.
So I love that's my favorite Spielberg film, and of
Hmm.
course
I have to look at
I think
his.
the best is Jaws. But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
you got to watch 1941 going in as a comedy. I mean after that
Put it
that's
as
why he didn't
IMDb.
do
Yeah.
comedies because it was a big flop. He had all these giant hits, and he did 41. It's a flop, and he said no more comedy for me.
Yeah, he's
So
like, I'm moving on from that. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what my favorite. I mean,
I know, right?
obviously, I think best wise. I mean, Schindler's List. I mean, Saving Private Ryan's a little cheesy,
Yeah,
but I do think that's a great film.
Ryan. Yes, yeah,
Um,
it's a great film.
I really like the new West Side Story, although Ansel Elgort's not my
Did
favorite.
you?
Yeah, it's well made.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's better. It's not better than the original, I'm sure, but
No, no, I liked
um,
it, but I yeah, I love the original, so it's like it doesn't compare. But yeah, I do like West Side Story. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, but other than that, though,
but
look, I mean, Jurassic Park's great. I
yeah,
honestly
another.
loved Hook. Hook was one I watched a lot as a kid. Um,
Oh, that's right, Hook.
I mean,
Yeah,
Raiders of the
that's
Lost
right.
Ark would be one
Yeah,
of those
Rhonda
that's
loves
like
Hook too.
fun. That's a fun adventure film. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Adventure film. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I haven't
It's
seen
like there's no
1941, so I
straight
don't have
up
an opinion.
comedies.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 1941 is like his only comedy. But you're right. Yeah, I love Raise the Lost Ark. It's fun. Be like watching the movie serials of the 40s and the 50s.
Sure.
But it's more action based. More adventure, like you said. A lot of good one liners here and there from the anti-hero. But yeah, yeah, I agree. But definitely, if you get a chance, watch 1941. I think you dig it.
And Jaws. If you haven't seen Jaws, I'm sure no one that's
Well,
listening to this
well,
podcast.
I was talking to Jeremy, but whoever watches this podcast, if you haven't seen Jaws, I mean, you're crazy. I mean, how can you not seen it? It's about communism.
It's about sharks. Anyway,
It's about sharks.
well, I guess I can do Project Hail Mary. You haven't seen this either, correct? Project Hail
No,
Mary,
no, I have not. No,
and you haven't
you
read the book.
sold it on me though. You sold it.
Yeah, I mean it's
No, I have not.
I mean I would highly suggest both the book and the movie. I mean I've heard a lot about the book. I didn't know anything about the contents of the book, but I knew that there was a big following to the book, and it's written by
Mhm.
Andy Weir, 2021, kind of a hard science fiction book. It's definitely grounded in the reality of science and very much
Yeah,
about. Um, just it's like the book reads like a scientific experiment, and that's both what's compelling about it and what makes it hard to adapt to screen, which since that novel became a big hit, I think that was a big question for a lot of people is how would you ever make this into a movie? Is it possible? That was at least something that I had heard when they started kind of producing this film. Anyway, it's about a scientist who kind of leaves the research community to go teach science as a teacher in the public school
mhm,
system, and then essentially there's a discovery that a life form called astrophage is essentially eating the stars in the galaxy,
mhm,
and so Earth has to put a mission together. There's a there's a particular star that is not being eaten, and so they put a mission together to go discover what is going on. Why is that star not being eaten? Um, and
mhm,
the book, both the book and the movie, are kind of structured in a way that, like the opening sequence, he wakes up on a ship, in like a essentially from like cryo sleep or whatever. It's like a
mhm,
more grounded version of that. They essentially put him into a coma, and he wakes up from a coma. There's two dead bodies in the room with him, and he has no
mhm,
memory of why he's here. And so, while I just told you kind of what Earth's mission is, the character has to remember all of those things and figure out who he is and why he's here. And it's just a fantastic. Um, I mean, again, I think like the character himself, this character Ryland Grace has a scientific curiosity that I think is contagious to the reader,
mhm.
at least. And I think the viewer in the movie. I think there's a big that's the science is the biggest difference between the book and the film. There's just like in the book, there's extended sections of scientific experimentation and like it's like a ton of problem solving, and it's fascinating in my opinion. I don't know if it's something that would work for everyone, but it makes you. I mean, you're
Yeah,
put in the character's shoes, and I think it's really fun to kind of watch him solve these different scenarios with real science, and it feels like
yeah,
the amount of research that must have gone into writing that book. I mean, feels tangible. Like it just. I don't know if all the science checks out. I've heard that it's
yeah, yeah,
pretty sound. It is science fiction, obviously, but I do think what's there makes sense to me, at least.
yeah,
The difference between well, one thing of note about both the movie and the book is that I think it's one of the few space travel movies where the things that are happening on Earth are just as interesting as what's happening in space. It's all
yeah,
interesting, but I think the way that the book details how Earth comes together or not, and how they solve this problem, and like the
Hmm.
specific problem solving that takes place to get them to the point where this can even happen. Um, is just really interesting, and it's great sci-fi in that it explores. It's almost like a post-apocalyptic film, because ultimately, if the sun
Hmm.
were to reduce, I think it's like 10 degrees or something, the Earth would die. I don't know what the temperature
Yeah,
is, but it's a very
yeah,
small
yeah,
percentage in temperature, and essentially would create a new ice age. And so that's like the problem that they're trying to solve on Earth. And I think all
yeah,
that stuff's just as interesting as what's going on in space. Um, Obviously, so then you have the film version of this really acclaimed novel. I read the book last week prior to going to see the movie. I had
yeah,
never read it before, or I've seen The Martian, but I hadn't read the book that Andy
yeah,
Weir wrote.
yeah,
Um, this was written, adapted by Drew Goddard, who I think is a great choice to adapt this
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
material. And I think it's directed by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, who did 21 Jump Street and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Lego Movie. They've got a history of
Recommend.
making really accessible comedies that also have some emotional depth. I don't know that they've done anything live action to this scale. I mean, 21 Jump Street is actually a pretty big budget action film at times, but I think
Big,
this is
yeah,
a huge budget sci-fi. I don't know if you can call it an epic in the way that like Interstellar is in terms of just the broader themes of the film. It's not as um I think it has emotional depth, but it doesn't quite reach the dramatic highs of something like Interstellar. I don't think it's trying to either. The book is very funny, and I think the film,
yeah,
I think they are perfect directors to adapt that material, because this character, Ryland Grace, is kind of, he's not a jokester by any means, but he's definitely like, it's as if you or I were scientists and we got called to go do to like solve this the Earth's problem, and like
yeah, yeah,
be like, am I really the person to do this job? And that's kind of how and he's like, this shit's so cool. Like that's the character, right? Uh,
yeah, yeah,
and I think Gosling is the perfect person to play that role. I think he has both the dramatic chops and the comedic chops to handle this type of character. Sandra Huller is fantastic as Strat. She's essentially like the person in charge of putting together the Earth's effort to try and save the
yeah,
planet. And
yeah.
so she has like the control of all the governments, which is just a fun running gag in both the book and the movie. This movie's already 2.5 hours long. So
Mhm.
you gotta, this is a very dense, long book. And I think there's a lot of stuff that would make sense on screen, and you just can't include everything. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I'm curious to see. I guess I could start by saying I think the movie is a almost line for line faithful adaptation of the
Okay,
novel,
I was gonna ask that. Yeah,
and it really understands what both works about the novel, and I think the changes that it makes are really only to simplify how complex the book is, and how, and just make it palatable without dumbing down what was there. Because you can't have
yeah,
a movie where, I think Interstellar learned from this. I don't think audiences are interested in hearing about relativity on screen. I don't. It's one thing for a novel
yeah,
to explore those ideas, and this book does explore that for a brief, chapter. Um, but in Interstellar, when they start talking about relativity, I mean, they make a joke about how complex it is and try and dumb it down for
yeah,
the characters. But it's like, I think this film abandons some of the expository science in favor of a more enjoyable emotional experience. So it is a little
mhm,
more jokey maybe than the book is, but you just can't have a
yeah.
character like walk you through step by step what's happening. The book
Of
does
course.
that, and I think the
Yeah,
science is there. In the movie, it's portrayed visually most of the time. I don't know if, and I've seen some different critic reviews where they discuss this concept of like, I don't know if the science is there in the book. It might be, but
mhm,
I didn't
yeah,
understand what the centrifuge is. For instance, like the ship has this centrifuge on it, and they need to perform scientific experiments on the ship, and so Earth solves that prop. Like they're like, we don't want to create
yeah,
equipment to test stuff in space. So let's just create a centrifuge so that the thing can have gravity so that you can use all the equipment that we've had for hundreds of
Yeah.
years that's been proven and is reliable. It's like that's all explained in the book. And you're like, you can't do that scene in the movie. You can't even, I mean, so like
Yeah.
this big, huge concept that's like a huge portion of the problem solving of the book is almost I don't even know if it's explained in the movie. Like he mentions that a centrifuge would be a good solution, but there's no explanation of how they achieve that or why. And that's okay. I don't think we need that level of detail, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
take all these concepts and they're there, they're visually represented, but they're not like physically explained in the way the book is. So I think there's going to be some things that people are like, one of them, my favorite one is like, why is Grace jacked? Like, why is this scientist, this high school teacher, jacked as hell? And I'm like, well, actually, that's explained in the book, first of all, because when he's put in the coma, there's a robot that like flips their bodies around to keep them alive, which is interesting. It's actually
Yeah.
there's a
Very
real
interesting.
reason for why he's jacked as hell. Um, but yeah, and then like just there's a language component to it that I think in the film is a montage. You know, it's a single scene where in the book
Yeah.
it's like 2 weeks worth of um, he builds a language model to communicate, and I'm trying not to really trying to avoid spoilers
Yeah. No.
here.
No.
That
I
is in
hear
the
you
it
go.
is in the trailer, but I
In
think
the
that's something
trailer.
that
Yeah. I was gonna
yeah
say.
that's something though that like in the movie is a montage, and in the book it's an entire chapter or two. And
Yeah.
anyway, I think it's a fantastic adaptation of the source material that's really complex and fascinating, science fiction. I think if anything, I wish that there was like a director's cut out there with 30 more minutes, but I also completely understand why
Yeah.
you cut 30 minutes. I think the film also does a really
Yeah.
fantastic job of adapting. For instance, there's a security guard mentioned in the book. I forget his name, but he's played by the actor from The Bear,
Mm.
Lionel Boyce. I don't know if that's it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Carl is the name of the character. In the book, it's like just a gag that he like goes and gets some snacks or something. Like there's just
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
quick little riff. But in the movie, they made him the character that Ryan Gosling can bounce ideas off of. And so it's like you take an inner monologue and then you give a character a little bit more depth so that he can. And I really like the way that they utilize that character to not only cut down on a character going, I wonder why it's doing that, right? It's like thinking out loud. Like
Yeah.
they do that in really clever ways. One is there's a vlog that he does on the ship that allows him to communicate his thoughts to a camera as opposed to just speaking out loud. Again, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
they really I don't know how you can like when I was reading the book, I was like, how are you going to cut down on the like thinking out loud exposition?
Yeah.
Because it's so
Yeah.
critical to the story, him thinking through these problems. And I think they just with really clever, specific ideas, they really accomplished that well. Um, Anyway, that's the general thing. The only other thing I'm not sure about is in the book because you're watching him solve all these problems with critical thinking skills and just science. I think you gain a respect for him as a scientist, and even though he's just a high school teacher or
Yeah.
whatever, I think like you come to go, no, he is the best guy for the job, and I think
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the movie, I don't know if you'll get that same feeling. Like I think he's kind of a goofball, and if you don't have the like, oh no, he's actually kind of brilliant
Yeah.
component of
Yeah.
it, I don't know if that's going to work for everybody. But Ryan Gosling is fantastic. I think it's visually just a spectacle. And I think it's a really faithful adaptation of a really complex book. And I mean, it's just a knockout, man. It's like 2.5 hours, but it's funny. It's a heartfelt, and it's
Yeah.
again, fascinating in the way that you want science fiction to be. I mean, I think it's just like one of those like special kind of movies. I mean, it's really fantastic. I mean, the source material was fantastic, so it's working with good
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
But I just am still really blown away by their ability to adapt this material so thoughtfully. And yeah, I just it's a fantastic. I'm gonna call it like a masterpiece for what it is. I mean, I know people didn't that weren't familiar
Mm.
with the book might not appreciate the film for what it is immediately, but I do think it's doing well at the box office. It's got some buzz. It did like
Good.
80
Good.
million or something first weekend or something. It
Okay.
did made a ton of
Yeah.
money. Reviews are generally positive. Um, the thing I wanted to talk about, though, which we talked about via text, was the audience versus critic versus YouTube. Like, who is the everyman or the general audience in terms
Well,
of the
true.
discourse?
Yeah. I mean,
Because when I texted
who
you
is?
about it, you were like, everybody's kind of dogging on it because it's like
Yeah.
too like jokey, and I'm like, that is the book, first of all.
Yeah.
Also, who is this that you're talking about? Because like like it's like a 97% user on Rotten Tomatoes, like a 94% critic. I don't know if these are that
Yeah.
doesn't
No.
measure how passionate people are about it, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I saw 3 or 4 reviews. I mean, if you should have told me, I would have just got down
Oh no, you're good. I'm
the
not trying to
links.
put you on the spot in terms of
But
give me
no,
your
no, no, no.
sources.
I'm just saying. So the YouTube, but it's like when we, I think YouTube has become the source of the everyman because you see everybody in the world on YouTube say what they have, how they feel, what they think, and with the 4 that I saw, they were kind of negative, but I also, after you said that, like I went down the rabbit hole and saw a bunch more videos, and there's a guy who I do dig. He has glasses. He's kind of nerdy. He
Is it
loved the
Mark
film too.
Kermode?
He talked it up.
Mark
Mm,
Kermode is my favorite. There's
don't
also
know.
well, so like the point I was going to make is like these are all critics to be fair, or at least like Chris Stuckman
Yeah,
is like a certified Rotten Tomatoes critic and filmmaker who
yeah,
I've
of
watched
course. Yeah, yeah,
forever. He like
yeah.
loved it. I think he gave it an A plus, like his highest rating.
Oh, cool.
Mark Kermode also loved it, and probably these are like critics, so it's like I don't know if a lot of the people I follow
Yeah, yeah,
on YouTube are film critics, so they are like your Rotten
yeah.
Tomatoes.
Right.
They are part of that percentage of critic. So it's hard to gauge like a general audience
Yeah,
based
yeah.
on
No,
a mixture of those things. But it was
no,
just a
but like,
fun discussion topic, but nothing else.
yeah, yeah. No. And after we talked, yeah, I said, let me go. Let me look at all the reviews, and I mean, I went down the rabbit. I saw maybe like good 15, 20 reviews, and like you said, it was more positive than negative. But I try to stay away from the ones that had spoilers, so it
Sure,
was
yeah.
hard.
I
But
think you'll
so
love
but
this
yeah,
film.
I do.
So if for
Yeah,
what
yeah, I
it
do want to
counts,
see it. Yeah,
I think this is not boring in any. I think it's very fun and often
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
funny, as is the source material. And I think it will work for general audiences if you get out of the headspace of thinking that it's trying to be something as grand as Interstellar. I think it tackles a lot of similar
Yeah,
themes of
yeah.
loneliness and space and and just I don't know, like the what we're willing to do to survive, but also just really
Survive.
fascinating,
Yeah,
like in reference to specifically what's happening. Like this is kind of a one-way trip for the astronauts, and
yeah.
one of the things in the book that is kind of briefly in the movie, I actually wish they hadn't skipped over it as much as they did, is the astronauts get to choose how they die
Mm.
like because they aren't coming home, so it's like one of
Yeah,
them
yeah, yeah.
chooses like helium or not helium, I forget
Is it
I
just a healer?
it's a gas that's like I forget but
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, and one of them's like I want heroin, that's probably why I got mixed up with helium. But anyway, yeah, it's just like the night, I think it's nitrogen or something, I don't know, anyway it
yeah,
doesn't matter,
yeah, yeah.
it's like part of one of the experiments in the book. But yeah, I just the idea of like the exploration of like, oh, this is a really interesting problem, and then the exploration of like getting to choose how you die is like a really interesting sci-fi element. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff in both the book and the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to chew on. I think it on the surface it kind of comes across as like a not a goofy comedy, but like I don't know, like kind of a jokey comedy, like one of the
Joke. Yeah.
other Phil Lord and Christopher Miller films. But I think it does have some true emotional depth, and Gosling is fantastic. What is with people like not liking Ryan Gosling? By the way, like maybe it's just me
I
finding,
dig him. He's fun. I like him a lot. He's
but
been in
like
a lot of movies that we enjoy, both you, me, and you. So
oh, I think he's one of the best actors working right now. I think I would go that
yeah,
far.
yeah,
I mean, he's got like
yeah.
30 films that I think he's great in.
Great in, yeah,
Like Blue Valentine in particular, I think is just like a decade best performance. Yeah, I mean Blade Runner, he's so good in all kind. He's a movie star with comedic chops. I mean, I loved him
yeah.
in the Stuntman one. I don't even remember the name of that film, but he's great
The
in it.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy is like
Yeah, he was
actually
good.
really
I like the
fun.
Fall Guy. Yeah,
And like
and
he's like
Good
genuinely
Guys with
fun. Whereas like Ryan Reynolds or
yeah,
somebody, I think is like we're all kind of sick of Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan. He's fine. He's not like terrible,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think we're all kind of tired of
yeah,
that shtick. Like, why are people
yeah.
grouping Ryan Gosling in with that? Because he is on another level of the Ryan Reynolds, man. I think like Ryan Reynolds is fine. He's like kind of a kid friendly. He's doing the same thing in every film. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah,
But Ryan Gosling's like a
yeah, yeah,
true dramatic actor with actual, I don't know. It's so
yeah. Of
weird.
course, yeah, yeah,
In watching some of the discourse for this, I've been baffled by the idea that people are like, "Oh yeah, he's just another Ryan Reynolds." I'm like, I don't know about that. I wouldn't make that
Ryan Reynolds.
comparison. But anyway, yeah, he's great in it. It's one of his best performances, I think, too. So,
Yeah,
anyway, that brings us go see Project Hail Mary. It's very good, and you
yes,
should see it on the big screen because it sounds great, and it's shot by the guy who did fucking Dune 2. It's Greg Fraser, who's just one of the
oh,
best working cinematographers right now. This movie is stunning at times to look
yeah,
at it.
yeah,
The way it uses like gravity as a visual character is really fun in a way that like kind of like 2001, like where they built
yeah,
that
yeah.
like little spinning. Was that or I think they did that in
No,
2001.
that's 2001. Yeah, where they're
And
walking,
Inception
but
is
the
the other
thing
one.
is rotating. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and it's like it plays around with that concept a lot in the film, and it just looks great. So go see it on the biggest screen you can. If there's an
yeah, yeah.
IMAX theater, it's shot in kind of that true IMAX format. So if you get a chance to see it on a screen of that size, I think it's worthwhile.
Is
But
that
yeah,
where you saw it on?
I saw it at the XD theater at
Oh,
Cinemark, but
XD. Okay.
the only IMAX theater, the true IMAX near us, is like by the Improv. Or
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no.
Yeah,
It's by Joel Steen's place, his
yeah. Okay.
castle,
Yeah, his castle, his moat,
his domain.
his
I
domain.
forget. It's like that Regal that's right there is the only
Yeah,
like
yeah,
true IMAX theater, and it's like it's 45 minutes away. I just didn't
yeah,
do
yeah. It's
that.
far. Yeah,
And the movie's 2.5 hours long. I was like, I don't want to commit 6 hours to this thing. But I would like if I go see it again at some point, maybe I'll go catch it, drive across town to go see it. Because it's
yeah,
really just a visual. It's a spectacle in every sense and a crowd pleaser too. So anyway,
yeah.
that's Project Hail Mary. Let's talk about the Oscars.
Let's talk about it. What do you
If
want to talk
anything, I
about?
feel like this is kind of a boring year. It's kind of mostly predictable outside of the
Yeah, that I was gonna say it's
expected
predictable.
controversies.
Yeah, yeah. I saw most of them coming. I'm trying to see the ones I didn't see coming, but
Can
I
we
saw
just
most.
have Conan host every year from here on out?
He
Can
was,
we?
yeah, he was
They made a
good. I like
joke
his
about him being
opening.
the lifetime host or whatever. I
Yeah,
just let the guy host every year, like him or Seth MacFarlane. Just get those two. Get these like performers, like just
yeah, yeah.
brilliant talents to just come out and they can like work for anyone. They're also just genuinely funny. Conan, I mean, come on, this is like enough
The
with like the
opening.
Ricky Gervais, like the
Yeah,
controversial
yeah,
options. Like let's
yeah,
just put Conan in there for until he's on his deathbed. Like let's just let him do it for 20 more years, man.
yeah. That opening was really, really good. It takes you back to like Billy Crystal's openings, but
Sure,
I
Billy
love
Crystal's
the
also
opening.
another great pick,
Yeah,
but
he's a
yeah,
great. Yeah.
he's an old man
So
now.
oh yeah, yeah. He's in
That's how aging
his
works.
70s.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, other than the like, I'm gonna save the controversies. I just wanted to go through like the major categories because we don't have time to go
Yeah.
through every single one,
No, no, of
nor
course
is
not.
there any value really in doing because I don't, we can have an opinion about the best costume design, but I mean, I don't know if that really. Um, I mean, I agree with most of the picks too in those like smaller
Yeah,
categories. So,
the small.
um, I mean, one of the first controversies, which was one of the first awards, is Best Lead Actor, Michael B. Jordan versus Timothy Chalamet. I
On the
mean,
screen.
I don't quite understand why this is a big controversy. Michael B. Jordan's great in Sinners.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Timothy Chalamet's
And
also great.
yeah, I told you I like Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme. He was really good.
You have seen
But
Marty Supreme? I didn't realize you
yeah,
had.
remember? Yeah, we
Did we
saw
talk
it
about
and
it?
we discussed it. Yeah, we saw it.
Oh,
It's on the show. Go back
my
a couple
memory's not what it
episodes.
used to be.
But
But yeah,
it's funny because I was thinking about this before and it was like any actor, and I'm not downplaying Michael B. Jordan's acting chops or him winning because I'm glad he won. But it was like any actor who does above and beyond. Like the last time someone played twins
mhm.
won the award
Other
for
than
Dead
Tom
Ringers.
Hardy in
Oh, he didn't win.
That movie no one saw, that gangster film where he
Yeah, what was
plays,
that
or Eddie
yeah,
Murphy in Norbit plays
or
what,
the
like
Nutty
12
Professor.
characters.
Yeah, right. But this is like a legitimate twin. And in
Yeah,
Dead Ringers, Jeremy, oh my God, what
Irons,
was his name? Irons
Irons.
won, and that was the last time that happened. So I it's funny because before that happened, I was thinking about it, and I was telling Rhonda, I said, the Academy likes when people show their acting chops through things like that, like an
Yeah,
alternate or whatever. And
or a big
and he was really
physical
good.
performance. Yeah, which I think,
Yeah.
I think this performance has. I mean, I think what people, I mean, people, this isn't like an original take necessarily, but I do
No,
think the
no, yeah.
nuance and the tangible differences between the two characters and the way that, I mean, it's a good performance. I mean, it's not an
Yeah, yeah,
easy
it is.
thing to do both of those and
Correct.
bring true difference to two totally different
Yeah, they were
personalities and
two
characters.
different people. Yeah,
Um, and
yeah, I like
and
that.
you, when you watch it, it is more seamless than you think it would be. Like at first, you're like, "Oh yeah, he's playing
Yeah,
both," and then you completely forget because they feel like two different people, and that's impressive,
yes,
regardless of
yes,
whether or not it's as
yeah,
traditionally dramatic as something like Chalamet's performance. I think Chalamet's performance is very
yeah.
physically demanding and really impressive, and he's
Demanding, yeah,
such a scumbag. I
yeah.
do
I liked
love
him in
like
it.
the charisma. I think that
Yeah, it was
performance
such
is
a New
probably
York
more
character.
memorable.
So good. Yeah,
And that's something
yeah,
that, like,
yeah.
I do
I
think
loved him
that's
in it.
why I think he's my pick, but I do think it's fine.
Yeah,
They're both great. I think I forget what else was in that category. I might need to pull that up here real quick while we're doing this, but
yeah,
I mean, yeah, you've had some pretty stacked categories. We talked about that when we did the nomination response.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't
Leo
know, man.
was up. Yeah.
Yeah, but Leo won already. You don't need him.
Well, yeah,
He
yeah. I
doesn't
know.
need to ever win
And
again at this point. I mean, like,
he was
it's
more of a
fine.
supporting character, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah,
which we can
I
talk
think the
about later.
Revenant
That's the
was.
other
Yeah, yeah,
controversy. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, but I would like to see it. And I also never got
yeah,
around to seeing Secret Agent. So, but
yeah,
I would like to talk about that on the podcast because that'll give me an excuse to go watch that. But
yeah.
yeah, Wagner, I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it because he's not German.
German.
Wagner
He's
Moira, isn't he
Mora. I
like?
know. Well, the Mora's right. I don't know how to pronounce his first
I mean,
name.
it's the entry from Brazil, correct? Secret Agents.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know if that's where he's from or not, but yeah, Wagner seems a strange way to pronounce a non-German name. Anyway, I don't know. That doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty stacked category though, and I think I think Leo could have won for one battle after
Yeah,
another for sure.
yeah,
I agree though that he's more of like the bumbling supporting character than
yeah. I
the
agree.
true
Yeah,
protagonist lens to that film, which I think is a really important point in relation to the controversy surrounding one battle after another that we can get to later. Saving the controversies for later, unless they're tied directly into a specific
sure.
category.
Yeah. Mhm.
Best supporting actor, I think Stellan is the best pick, but Sean Penn's great. He didn't show
Yeah.
up, which is funny.
He didn't show up, and then what's his name? Culkin was like, because he didn't want to. And I started
You're like,
laughing.
all right,
I said, because that is Sean Penn, and he probably just didn't want to deal with that, trying to be like
I don't.
Brando and
Yeah,
everybody else.
who would want, I mean, like, especially a guy like him that's like not well liked as a person. Like,
Yes, as a
people like
purpose.
him as an
Yeah,
actor. Apparently he's kind of a dick.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yeah,
okay. That's okay. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, if I were Sean Penn at this point of his career, I'd be over all of the award
yeah,
stuff. I mean, we're over the
yeah,
award stuff, let alone I can't imagine
yeah,
having to go
yeah,
and
yeah,
actually sit through all the, like you go to the Emmys and then you go to, I mean, it's just the actors awards and
yeah, yeah.
the Directors Guild Award. It's just got to be by the end of it. You're like, this is enough for this already. Can we just go make movies? Anyway, I think it's just such a Sean Penn thing to do, though. But
Yeah,
uh,
that's what I said. I said, "Oh, Sean Penn, being Sean Penn, bro, didn't show."
and then
But
lead actress was obviously Jessie Buckley.
yeah,
What a
that was
stacked
basic.
category, though. I mean, you had Emma Stone, you
Yeah,
had
there was. Yeah,
Rose Byrne for "If I
Mhm.
Had Legs, I'd Kick
Had
You" or whatever
legs.
that long title. I could never remember. And then I forget, is it Renate Rensve? Is that the other lead actress? Was she in that
From
category?
Sinners.
I just closed the
Yeah,
window for some reason. I should keep it up. Oh wait, I do have it here. It just makes me look pink when I open up a white. Yeah, it was Renate Rensve. Kate
Renata
Hudson, I
Renzi.
still don't understand that pick. But Emma Stone for Begonia too. I watched that again recently.
Yeah,
Man, she's great in that.
she is. She's really good.
But yeah, Jessie Buckley is the obvious choice there. No
Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
Supporting actress. I can't believe this is the only one that I'm like, what? What are we doing here? I like her. She's fun. This is a good performance. We agreed though that like she shouldn't even
But
be in the category, and then she
I,
wins.
yeah, but remember what I brought up to you? I brought up to you the whole thing with best supporting actress is always someone you don't expect or someone that's like in that role that you kind of like, oh, whatever. They threw him a bone and
I
they
mean,
win. Like Marissa
uh,
Tomei in My Cousin Vinny.
yeah.
She won best supporting actress. And I'm like, what? So
I
this
mean,
is
I
what I
just
mean, you know?
you've got. I mean, you have Elle Fanning though, and
Yeah, yeah,
Inga Lilius. I don't know how to pronounce her name from Sentimental Value. You could
yeah.
literally give this award to anyone else in the category, and it would completely make sense. But
Makes
and
sense.
I
Yeah,
mean, I love Weapons. It was on my list. I think
yeah,
it's
I
one of the
do
best
too.
films of the year. That movie rips. She's great
Yeah.
in it, but she's in it for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and she's got two great scenes. Uh, but I mean, like, I just I don't understand. I don't understand, man. Like one battle after another. Like she like rules the show. She runs the show
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
first like 35 minutes of the movie. The girl from Sinners is also great in that. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
understand. Anyway, dumb, bad. I love
I saw
weapons.
her coming.
That
I saw her coming, bro.
that's not the pick. Um, Pick anyone else. Anyway, uh, cinematography, though, I like this pick. Sinners is gorgeous.
Yeah, very
Is
beautiful.
one of the
Yeah,
best looking films of last year. I mean, that's definitely a deserved pick. I think one battle after another was probably the only other like major
yeah,
contender, like
agreed. Yeah,
serious like option here. And I think you like to see first female, first black person, and first
yeah.
Filipino to win best cinematography. I mean, you love to see
It was
that,
like, yeah,
and it is absolutely the deserved option. I think Sinners
yeah,
is
yeah.
that's its biggest strength in my opinion is the cinematography. And
Cinematographer. Yeah,
um so yeah, that's a cool pick. Film, I guess we got directing is next. I might be skipping categories here, but that's just the
oh,
ones that I
so,
wrote down to talk about. PTA finally got his Oscar,
yeah. I know, right? After
first
so
one
many.
ever.
Yep, yep.
Wild that it
After
took that long, and also I was looking at like the nominations that he's received over the years. I'm shocked by how
yeah,
few
few,
there have been.
yeah, yep, yep.
I think it's like five. It's like his most recent three movies. It's like he didn't make no like nobody realized that he made a movie before like 2008 or something. Uh, Magnolia, like
Magnolia, one of my favorite movies. Yeah, Boogie
Boogie
Nights,
Nights. Come on,
Heart
I
Eight,
mean, like yeah,
The
Heart Eight though was
Master.
like an
Yeah,
indie. I understand why that didn't
yeah,
get
an indie film.
nominated,
Yeah,
but like Punch Drunk Love came out I think before
Punch
that,
Drunk
right?
Love. Yeah, yeah.
I don't even think he got nominated for There'll Be Blood. Did he? I don't
Interesting.
think he did. Let me see.
No, I
I had
don't
it
think
up
so either.
early. I mean, obviously, I'm a PTA snob. I feel like that's becoming like a personality meme, which I don't like. It's like we're allowed to like things, us nerds. Let me see nominations here. Yeah, he's won three awards. I think they were all from this time, right?
Yeah,
Best
yeah.
Picture, Best Directing, Best Screenplay. Yeah. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
he got nominated for Licorice Pizza. These are Academy
yes,
Awards. He's been nominated for other
yeah,
things before.
yeah,
Yeah, Phantom Thread, Inherent Vice.
yep.
He did. I take it back. He did get nominated for Best Screenplay for both Magnolia and Boogie Nights, just not
Yeah, I was
director.
gonna say Boogie Nights and Magnolia. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, There Will Be Blood was first director pick, and
Yeah,
then he got nominated for pretty much everything after. I still think Phantom Thread is the one that it's hard though, because sometimes you go up against like No Country for Old Men,
man. Yeah,
like There Will Be Blood did in 2008, and you lose, and that's what happens.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, cool to see him. I mean, he's my favorite, so.
yeah,
Um, I do think any of the nominations could have won here. I
yeah.
don't think she would have won for Hamnet, even though I love that film. Um, I think that's
You mean
of
screenplay?
the. I just don't think the
Oh,
scale of that production. This is director still, just that
director. Okay.
category of directing because you had PTA and you had where
Chloe
is it
Zhang.
here? Yeah, Chloe Zhao, Josh Safdie, who I think Josh Safdie is the one that like if you're gonna give best director to any other director, I think that's the one. I think
Yeah,
Art Supreme,
yeah,
just the scope of that film. I mean, Sinners.
yeah,
I just have. I think there's just some fatal flaws to Sinners that keep me from saying
mm,
that he should win for best director. But even though I think
yeah,
that's still a great film, um, but But yeah, I think you could give it to any other director in that category. That was stacked direct. We've had some really stacked directing categories the
Yeah.
past few years, and it's definitely a strong one. Editing was one battle after another. I think this
Mhm.
or Marty Supreme are kind of the only no brainers here. Um, International feature, sentimental value,
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
Haven't
We
seen
knew that.
Secret Agent though. Um, adapted screenplay was one battle for another. I think you could have given that to
Yeah.
Begonia as well, but since it was
Begonia.
art, since it was adapted from a previous film, that
Yeah.
probably played a role in why it didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, I think one battle after another has a great script, and it's a goofy script. But that's not its. I don't think
Yeah.
that's. I
It's
mean, all
fun.
his
Yeah.
films are written well, and they're and the character, the narrative is there for sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
which you can credit to the screenplay. But I think that's like if you're talking about that movie, that's not like oh man, the script is so good, you know. Whereas Begonia, I think, is a little bit more flashy in its
True. Yeah.
dialogue
Yeah.
heavy, approach. Um, but I don't know. I mean, that's
Original too. You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, and that's I think that matters. Yeah. So I mean, well, Begonia
Yeah.
wasn't original though because it was adapted from.
No, I'm. Yeah, but I'm saying that it felt like, you know what I mean. It's like fresh. You know, like it was really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it was
Fresh
like, yeah.
perspective, regardless of whether or not the sword.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then original screenplay went to Sinners, which I think the script is
Sinners.
the worst part of that film. I think it works until it doesn't. And I don't mean that it's not a. I mean, this is we're talking about a great movie here that has some flaws,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I think the script. I think the third act has some serious script problems. So I think like Marty Supreme or Sentimental Value, I think would be a better option for writing here. But Sinners is still there's a lot of it is so very good. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it kind of loses its way later on. Anyway, I don't know if you have any opinions. I just kind of blew through all those because I want to talk about
No.
the
No.
controversies. I want to get into the good stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, no, I agree with you with most of that. Yeah, I mean, like I told you, I saw Best Supporting Actress, I saw Best Supporting Actor, I like everything I saw. I mean, I did like the fact that Sinners won. I knew it wasn't going to win Best Picture, so they
We
gave
thought
it
there was a
that.
chance though, but
Yeah,
once PTA
yeah,
won director and
yeah. That's exactly, So, so the controversies.
well, the first one, which is like these things are just the in memoriam
Yeah,
is the
they
first thing,
left
which is
out.
like,
Yeah,
there's people left out, there's people that get like way more attention, and you're
yeah.
like, I just I don't understand why we don't make this objective at this point. It's like anybody that's in any of the major groups, like,
Hmm.
SAG, director, give them 10 seconds each or whatever, right?
Okay,
Just
I
put
see.
it on a
Yeah, I see
fucking
what you're saying.
timer.
Yeah,
Like put it in you're throwing this in a timeline to edit the thing, with all the different photos and stuff. Just give them
yeah,
all the same amount of time. I don't
yeah, yeah.
understand why you're giving anybody 20 seconds versus 5 versus it just is so obviously favoritism. I don't
Oh,
care if
Robert
it's
Redford.
deserved. It doesn't have. It's like it's an in memoriam. Just like make it like
Yeah, yeah,
standard. It should never be. Why is this a thing still? Like I don't understand. Like they've been
yeah,
doing
yeah.
this for decades. Like we haven't figured out that. Like I just don't get that. It's one thing to miss
But
some people.
the Academy plays favorites. You know this. This is like their
Sure.
thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I mean that's true. But
yeah.
I mean the Astros are dumb. They're dumb.
And we know we've been saying that for forever, but
They still matter to us though deep
I know,
down.
right?
That's the problem.
We're film
Uh,
nerds.
The other thing is the speech cut off during the best song. And my solution is very simple. Like this is a 4-hour televised event. Cut some shit to give everyone. I mean, there's what, 15
Yeah,
awards? Like if
yeah.
you gave everyone 2 to 3 minutes, it would make up not even a fourth of the
Yep.
broadcast. Why
Agreed.
can't you
Yep.
give everyone enough time? I don't understand.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
we're here for the not for the winners. Like we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need all the celebratory bullshit. Like cut all the songs. We don't need to hear every fucking song. Cut the like just there's got to be room in a 4-hour broadcast to give some space so that you don't mute people in the middle of their speeches. Like it's one thing
Yeah,
if they're saying something like racist or something on stage or like but it's like come on man like
yeah.
we're rushing them off the stage still. It's like come just like let
Which
it
is
happen.
weird because other people got enough time, no music
Yeah.
played. So this, like I said, it's just, they're like, who cares about best song next?
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
like
wrong. It's
like
wrong.
you're playing all of them in the broadcast though, like in for the you have like 25 minutes dedicated to each of these songs being played, but you can't give them 30 seconds. It's just that's dumb. These are things that shouldn't happen, and they're
Yeah, I
so
agree. I
easily
agree.
solved, but
Yeah.
like they just haven't figured it out. Anyway, that brings us to the last controversy, which
Yeah.
is one battle after another. Um, I'm just interested. This is more of discussion. I don't have as hard. I have opinions about some of the details of the controversy. Which I mean, have you heard about this? It's not really. It's hard to call it a controversy. I think it's more just criticisms of the film for their portrayal of black women, first of all, which is
Mhm.
a fair thing to feel when
Of
watching
course. Yeah.
the opening. And then I think the other big thing, the main thing is just the point of view told mostly through like a white protagonist
White person. Yeah.
in a film about, this the white savior concept, right?
Yeah.
So there's more nuance to those two things, but I think generally, um, I'm curious why. Let's start with the white savior thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand like the lens in which we experience this story is through Leo's character. I would say
Hmm.
mostly. I think we'd be
Yeah.
lying if we said that it wasn't. Um,
Mhm.
I do think though if anything, it's kind of the opposite of a white savior, like protagonist. Like I think he shows up, and we talked about this when we did
Because
our
of his
review,
character, I agree with you. Yeah.
because
Because
he's
of his character.
almost useless, and I think
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah. I agree.
He's not
I agree.
useless in terms of the importance to his daughter, for sure,
Yeah.
but he
Mhm.
doesn't solve anything. He literally
Yeah.
doesn't solve anything in the film other than just gain. He shows up, right? We
He
talked
should.
about
Yeah.
that in our review,
Exactly.
in our review of it. And so I don't quite understand that criticism. Like I understand and I think the first 45 minutes he is not the main character. It's Perfidia, Beverly
Yeah.
Hills,
Hmm.
and she's electric. It's a
Yeah.
flawed
She's
character, which
amazing.
kind of brings us to
Yeah.
the next section. Um,
Yeah.
Characters can be flawed, first of
Yeah.
all.
Of course.
I
Of
think the
course.
character, though, I think she's actually while flawed, I think is a very strong character in terms of
Yeah.
just her. She's like a firecracker, man, on screen. I think
Yeah. I love her. I
she's a
love her. Yeah.
force to be reckoned with, and
Reckon with.
obviously
Yeah.
that has consequences, which I think the film recognizes.
Yeah.
But I also think when it comes to like the sexualization of black women on screen, that is there, but I do think
Mhm.
it's from the perspective of a creepy monster, and I think that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Sean Penn character is a monster. He's not a
Monster.
good
Yeah.
person, and morally, he is not representing anything of value.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas every other character, I think, is portrayed like the Leonardo's attraction to
Yeah.
her isn't like some creepy, perverted, perspective. And so, like, again, I think like that
Yeah.
criticism, I think, is bizarre. Because again, it's like I don't know, man. It's like are bad characters not allowed to be portrayed? It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Again, I agree with you. I think she's such a great actress, and she stole this role. I'm upset that she didn't win anything for it.
Sure.
Um, and I agree with you. Like, she is in control. Like, even the scene with
Yep.
Sean Penn, she's the one in power. She's the one who
And
like
it's funny the way that happens
yeah, she demeans him, and stuff like that. Where the guy
until
just
until she's caught,
caught.
right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think, but again, I mean, Sean Penn like takes control of that situation because of
Yeah.
the consequences of her actions, right?
Hmm.
But he also takes advantage of those. I
Yes.
mean, he's like, there's that line, there's the scene where she's handcuffed to the hospital bed, and he says,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do this. It's I forget what he's like. You're gonna have to turn your friends in, but I can get you out of this if you tell me that you love me or something. It's like the
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
It's just a creepy
Yeah.
scene, and it's like, yeah, the power dynamic does shift at that point, but up
Yeah. Yeah.
until then, in terms of the at least the sexual component of that creepy weird relationship, it's funny, I think, but it's she's
Yeah.
definitely very much in control,
Yeah. She's in
and
control.
he's very much a creep, and I don't know, man. That's a weird. I don't think it's saying that that's a normal, healthy relationship.
Of
Uh,
course. Of course. Yeah.
so I also think there's the flawed component of like the portrayal of flawed black characters, I think is interesting because she's the only one to some degree. I think she's the catalyst for the rest.
Mhm.
The she's the one that her actions kick off the
Yeah,
events of the film.
film.
Um,
Yeah,
but then I think you have numerous black characters in the film that are making up for those flaws by taking care of the child, by
yeah,
picking her up from school. I'm going blank on her name. The acclaimed actress that plays the minor character, definitely a more minor character, the one that like picks up. I don't even remember the
oh
character's
yeah,
name. Picks her up from school and like shows up in the bathroom. I'm going blank on her name.
yeah,
But anyway, that character though is a character that's like making sacrifices in order to try and fix this situation and do the right thing. You have the nuns that run the weed
yeah.
nun compound. All these
Regina
characters are
Hall.
like Regina Hall, yes.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. You have a lot of. I think you have a portrayal of both sides of the flawed character. I think you have a flawed character that makes mistakes, and that results in a film that exists. But then you also
yeah,
have you have a character that's making up for those flaws in her own daughter,
yeah.
and striving to be something better. And I think
Something better. Yeah.
that's interesting. I don't know. I acknowledge I'm a white dude, and my opinion probably doesn't matter, and that's okay. But I do think it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
no, and like I said, I don't. When that happened, I was like, she's like the strongest character in the film, and I mean, I love her because of her character, and
sure,
so I'm not saying that
she's a human
her
being. It feels like
exactly, yeah,
I don't know. I
exactly,
mean,
yeah.
um,
So I mean, everyone has a
I
right to their
understand the
opinion.
sexualization, but I think the perspective that the film's taking and the character that's participating in some of that sexualization, I think that matters. But
I
um,
agree, I
because
agree. Like I
I
said,
saw a lot of comments on some of the criticisms that would be like, yeah, I turned it off 15 minutes in. You're like, that's fair, but you don't know who
understand.
this character is. It's like, I mean, like
Yeah, I know,
it's
but 15,
fair to feel that way when you watch the opening of this film, but
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you if you don't finish it. I'm not saying that people that criticize this didn't watch the thing. I think it's some people
yeah,
for sure, not all, but
yeah,
yeah, just an interesting controversy. And Sinners is a great film, and if it had won Best Picture,
yeah,
it made $1 billion. We talked about that in our
yeah. I know. Sheesh.
preview of the
Yeah,
Oscars episode, but and if it had won, I think it's deserving in a lot of ways.
yeah. Agreed.
It had an impact broadly. It made a ton of money. It's technically really proficient. I think it's got some
Yeah,
flaws, but that's it's a 3 hour you know original epic. So I don't know. I just find it weird that it was like that we did this thing where we were like pitting the films against one another and then diminishing one for very strange reasons, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. No, I
But
agree with you. Yeah.
anyway, did you do a pick of the week?
Uh, um, yes, because it's the only other film I saw outside of the films I told you about. um, this came out last year. I saw the trailer. I don't even know if it was in theaters. If it was probably a week or two. But I saw this movie called Stone Cold Fox on
Mhm.
Netflix. With it has Kiefer Sutherland, Kristen Ritter. I hate pronouncing her name. The girl who played Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Uh, what's her name? Shurka? Oh my god! But it's
I,
just
yeah, I don't remember.
hold on. Let me see. Let me get her name just so I don't have to. But it's like it's funny how many years since Tarantino, like changed the face of cinema back then. Kiernan Shipka, that's her name, and it's like it's so Tarantino esque, and it's like every year there's a film that says, "Oh, I'm going to do a Tarantino film,"
Sure.
under the radar, and it's just really cheesy. It's very fun. It's got those, slow motion karate fight scenes at
Wow.
some point.
I'm
So
looking
yeah,
at the
it's just
poster of
you
this
see,
now.
yeah. So it's like it's cheesy fun. It's the only other movie I saw outside of these big Academy Award films, but I still laughed through it, and I just thought that, like I said, with the caliber of actors, there's a lot of like these actors who have big names, but not in anything important. But yeah, it was just fun, and if you're bored,
I'm always baffled by your picks of the week here.
I told you
Like
because,
this
like
is
I
a
said,
film I saw
but I only saw
straight
the
to
in the.
Netflix. It's
I
an
was at
hour
it.
and 26 minutes.
Yeah, it's very short.
It's like
But I
it's like in
remember
that
I
Arrested
was
Development episode where maybe he's like, yeah, it's 46 minutes or
6
whatever.
minutes.
They keep cutting the length of it down. It's like, yeah, they told me I had to get it under an hour. It's like, yeah, 1 hour and 26 minutes. This film. I do love a 90-minute movie, but I don't.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
when it's a little too short, you start going, ooh, they really cut the thing down. Uh,
But
every
very
fox has its prey is the tagline.
prey. And it's shot with that 70s, grindhouse tone with the little crackles and shit like that. So I thought that
In
was
other words,
funny
you're saying
too.
it's ugly. No, I'm kidding. I
It's
mean, it does look ugly though.
yeah,
I like the little film grit though to it, but
yeah, yeah.
huh, yeah.
What's
Anyway,
yours?
that's a pick. See, mine ties into at least why initially I was gonna do the Oscars. Well,
Yeah,
we had
yeah,
talked about doing when we were gonna live stream the Oscars, doing like the famous Oscar snubs, and I thought
yeah,
about
yeah.
doing going in that direction for my pick, but then I just all of them are like obvious stuff. It's like Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah,
or anyway, you've seen all these movies. That's the point. Not
yeah,
well, you
yeah.
and everyone, and so. I wanted to tie it into Project Hail Mary instead, which is a film that one of the themes of it is talking about loneliness in space, which brought me to Duncan Jones' 2009 film Moon
Moon, great
with
film.
Sam
Yeah,
Rockwell.
yeah.
It is Kevin Spacey also, but I think you don't have to look at his face at least. Let's say that.
I know,
Um,
right? It's his voice.
but yeah, another movie about a person that's just alone in space and very very
Great.
visually
Yeah,
appealing and also like a 90 I think it's like a 90-minute movie or
yeah.
it's not
Sam
like
Rockwell's amazing in it.
he's
I
really
love
good
him
in
in
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was my pick of the week is just something that kind of ties into Project Hail Mary, but far more dramatic of a movie I would say, but it
yeah,
is
yeah,
Sam Rockwell is also funny in it. So
yeah,
there's a little
yeah.
bit of a comedic component, but definitely more dramatic than
Dramatic.
Project
Yeah,
Hail Mary I would say. But yeah, that's my pick of the week. Anyway, that's a lot. We talked about a lot of stuff today.
yeah. Right. A little over an hour today, but that's cool.
A lot of controversy in this episode. Yeah.
Let's see what happens after when we post it.
Yeah. I'm sure the 5 people that watch this are going to be really blown away by some of the hot
Some
takes.
somebody might say, "Hey, did you see what he said?
Can
Gotta
you
watch this."
believe they're gonna clip some of these sound bites and be like,
Yeah,
"Can you
right.
believe what this white dude said?" And that's
But
okay.
yeah,
It's an interesting. It's just there's just some
yeah,
interesting stuff there.
yeah, yeah.
The Oscars can never get it right. So I
Never
mean, honestly, the only thing worth talking about this year was the
the
controversies.
controversies.
Most of it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's okay. Anyway, I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad you're feeling
Yes,
better,
thank you.
and I'm glad we're back for
Yeah,
episode 52 of
you
Indecisive
too.
Cinema.
Yeah,
Go watch some movies this week, y'all.
yeah, definitely. So you guys have a great time and you take care. I'll see you guys on the next one.